This is part 6 in our recording a song with a budget audio interface and cheap microphone series. In this video, I'm going to be using free VST plugins to mix the song. And I'll also show you the way I'm going to be mastering this song for free as well. I'm Zane, welcome to Audio Tech TV, where it's my goal to help you conquer the tech so you can unleash your creativity by providing easy to follow audio tech tips, tutorials, and reviews. Now, links to all of the free VST plugins mentioned in this video are down in the description, along with links to the budget gear that I use to make this song. And if you're new to this series, I recommend checking out the rest of the videos, but basically what I'm doing is I've used a Behringer UM2 audio interface, a Behringer XM8500 dynamic microphone to record this song into a older laptop that's kind of a mid-range older laptop. And I'm only using free VST plugins, plus I'm only using the features that are available in Traction Waveform free. So let's jump into Waveform now and give it a listen to what I've got going on, and then I'll go through the mix process with you.
Radio.
That's a bit of the mix that we're working with right now. So let's have a look at what's going on here. And we'll start with the guitar bus up here. So as you can see in the guitar bus, I have 3 guitars, and they were all the same guitar. It was a Squire guitar that I recorded in, but I just have 3 different settings in Amplitude 4. It's Amplitude Custom Shop, the free version. And so the first one is Big 800 Rhythm, and that one is panned all the way to the left. Then here we have Light Crunch, and that one is panned all the way to the right. And then we have one that's panned right in the center, and this one is Extra Comp 800. So those are our 3 guitars. Let's have a listen to what those sound like, and then I'll go through the effects that I have up here. So that's our guitar, and we have the TDR Nova. This is a great free EQ plugin. It's awesome. And I want to play it so you can see that it shows the graph in here of what you're playing. So you can see I have it set to out. That's what's going out. So what you see there is what's going out. It's a very, very nice plugin. So I have that in there, and it's sculpting the sound. So I've got it cut off from 100 Hertz and lower using the high pass filter. Then I got a little bump here just to give a little more bottom end. Then just taking out some of the harshness there, and then doing a little bit of a boost over here to get some more of those mid highs in there. Then I have another instance of it for even more sculpting. I don't know why I did this. I started off with the first one, and then I wasn't overly happy with it, and I used another instance of it. So let me show you. I'll play it without the second one. And now here it is with it on. Just a little smoother. Then after our EQ, I have our compressor, which is the TDR Molotov compressor. Amazing free compressor. If you don't have it, get it. It is great. And these are the settings I used in there. Nothing too fancy. Just a little bit of compression going on. Then I've put the Fresh Air plugin at the end just to get some more of those highs in there. I just wanted to increase the highs to make the guitar stand out a little more. And after Fresh Air, I have the IVGI2 from Klanghelm. And this is a saturation plugin just to add some more saturation. So let's listen to it without the saturation on there. I kind of like that almost transistor sound that it gives there. For this type of song, I wouldn't use it on every type of song, but I thought it sounded pretty good here. And then I also have saturation knob on at the end, so even more saturation. And here it is again. Just adds a little more saturation, smooths out the saturation from this plugin here. And then you can see I have a send at the end, and I'm sending our guitar down to the reverb send down here. So I'll just enable that and you can hear what that sounds like. You can't notice it a whole lot, but it is there, and it kind of just makes it a little wider and fit in the mix a little wider. It's nice. I also have the drums and the vocals going through the same send, so it puts everything in the same sort of space. And that's it for our guitar here. So now let's move on to our bass guitar. So you can see here I have this track called Bass DI. I didn't record it with a DI. It was the direct recording. I'm just so used to calling it Bass DI. That's what I named it here. But it is the bass guitar recorded directly into the Behringer UM2. And it wasn't a fancy bass guitar. If you remember that video, I used a glary bass guitar, which is, I think, around $86 or something like that. This is where it's recorded here, that glary bass guitar. I have it sent to this track under here, which I call bass amp, and that's because I have an amp sim down here. And I'll get into that in just a minute, but I'll show you what I have on the bass DI first, so it will make sense down there. So I have a compressor. It's just the traction compressor that comes free with traction, just to smooth out this bass a little bit. And then I also have TDR Nova, that EQ plugin. And you can see I have it so it's only capturing just a little bit here. It's a lot of the lows. So let me just mute that, and you're going to hear what this just sounds like. And that's just our lows right there. And that's what our DI is doing. The lows are not going through the bass amp. So next, we have our bass amp right here. I'm using the free Bass Amp Deluxe from Lost in 70s. So here's the insert. So I'm feeding the bass directly into here before the compression and before the EQ. It's going directly into my bass amp, and then that is going into the magic switch, which is a chorus effect that's free. I was going for an 80s sort of sound with this song, and chorus on bass seems to be an 80s thing. And then we've got the TDR Nova, and you can see here it picks up right where the other one left off. So the other one, we left off at 216 Hertz. That's all it's getting in there. And then with this instance of Nova, it starts at 216. So it's all of the rest of the bass information going through here. So that way I can kind of control that nice sounding part of the bass, which is the part that's going through the bass amp. It's kind of gives that nice bass sound. And then I also still keep those lows intact so the song sounds more full. So let's listen to it all together here. If I were to put those lows and everything right through the bass, it would sound a little more muddier, and I don't want those lows getting the chorus, and I was increasing some of the mids here in the bass amp as well, and I have it going through the speaker sim as well in this bass amp. So I didn't want all of that stuff on the lows. So we have that feeding into our bass submix track up here, which just has the TDR Molotov compressor, just to smooth it out, and another instance of Nova where I really increase those mids here because I like to get that nice ringy sort of sound through on this bass. So again, here's what it sounds like. And that's our bass guitar. So the next section is our drums, and you can see I have a drum submix track up here, And it's being fed by the kick, snare, and toms. And then I have another submix for the cymbals with the hi-hats, ride, crash, and china. So in the drum section, it's the MT Power Drum Kit. Now I have that wrapped in a plugin rack. I have the one plugin and it's being fed into the kick track, the snare track, the toms, hi-hats, and all of that. I have a video on showing you how to do that routing if you're not familiar with it. It's very easy to do. It just splits it up so the kick is on one track, the snare is on another, and the toms are on another, and I can use just one set of MIDI information here, and it feeds into all of my drum tracks separately. So on the kick, I have TDR Nova, of course. I think I have that on everything, and it's just kind of shaping the kick drum a bit. So let's listen here. Mute this. And you can hear the kick on its own. That EQ just made it sound a little more full, more like how a kick drum should sound. And then I have the MJUC Junior on here, which is a leveling compressor, kind of like a LA2A style compressor. And that just helps to level it out. Here it is with it off. Gives it a little more thud. Then we'll move down to our snare here. And this is just a traction reverb that I have in here, just to make the snare sound like it's a little more realistic. So let's have a listen to that. And here it is without the reverb. Sounds a little nicer with that reverb, in my opinion. And then, of course, I have TDR Nova, which just kind of takes out some of the lows and takes out some of this other information, then increases the highs to make it really snap. So here it is without it. Just a little more snappy. I didn't do anything to the toms because I think there's only a little bit of toms in there. I just lowered the volume of those. And same thing with the cymbals. I didn't really do anything with them. I just lowered some of them and lowered the overall bus, but nothing else on the cymbals there. And then on the drum submix track, I have Nova again, just shaping the sound a bit, and the TDR Molotov compressor just to smooth things out. And you can see this send goes down to that reverb send down here. So let's listen to it with it on and with it off. So you can hear a difference there for sure. And that puts the drums in the same space with the vocals and the guitar to make it sound like you're in the same room with these other players. And that's it for our drum section. Now we can move on to the synths. And I didn't really need to add synths to this song. I just kind of wanted to. I wanted it to have that 80s feel. And synth 1 is synth 1. That's what I have here. It's synth 1. And this is a free synth plugin. I have the saw lead preset loaded in there. Here's what it sounds like. And then I have Nova on there, of course, just taking out all of the low information in here. I just want those highs. I want it to stand out, but I didn't want it to muddy up the guitars or anything else. And I put a little bit of the baby comeback on there to give it some depth so you can hear what it sounds like on and off. I like the sound of that. Then we have the second synth, which is Tyrell N6 from Yuhi, another great free VST plugin. And here's what that sounds like. And I didn't add any other effects because I could use the effects that were included inside this plugin itself, and I liked them. You see, I have chorus on here, and the chorus kind of puts the synth in the background a bit. So it sounds like it's more in the background. And I'll show you, turn it off, and you can hear what it sounds like. Kind of puts it more to the sides, so it's like it's more in the background, not so much in the center where the vocals are going to be. So that's our synths. Here they are together. Nothing too fancy there. And then we have our vocal submix here. So you can see I have two vocal tracks in the vocal submix. I have the lead vocals, which is the recorded vocals, and then I have that sent down to this, which I call vocal breath. And this is just more of getting some of that, the fresh air into there. It's getting some of the highs, some of the breathiness into there. So let's listen to this right now. Here's our vocal mix here.
It's time you realize you're not fooling anyone. The magic of radio is gone.
So it's kind of similar like what I did with the bass, where I could control the frequencies a little bit more by controlling these individual tracks. That's all this is. And I have the send coming after. I have M compressor in there, and M compressor is taking out some of the handling noise of the mic and some of my breaths that are in between. And that's just a subtle little thing. Normally what I would do likely is probably chop it all up, and I just didn't want to spend that much time here. And this plugin works great for getting rid of that noise. And of course I have TDR Nova in here, and I have it taking off some of those lows. A dip right here at about 3.2 kilohertz, and that's to take some of the harshness off of cheaper microphones. Will have a little bit of harshness somewhere in that area there. So you want to lower it just a little bit to get rid of some of that harshness if you do have it. And then I have it raising the highs a little bit again, just to allow that air through. And then both of these are fed to the vocal submix up here with another instance of Nova doing basically the same thing. I have Lisp, which is a free de-esser that I put on there to get rid of any of the harsh S's. And then I have the Slick EQ, and the way I have this working right now is just to add some brightness to the vocal. I'll show you what I mean right here.
It's time you realize.
So that's on.
It's time you realize you're not fooling anyone.
So it just brightens the vocal up a little bit. Sometimes I use this and sometimes I don't. It just all depends on the vocal and the situation. But you can see I have only the high frequency enabled. The rest of the frequencies are disabled. And I have this all the way down to 500 hertz. And then I just have the gain up on that about 5.2 decibels. That's how I get my brightness effect. It's similar to the Waves one knob brightness plugin, which I tend to use on my vocal tracks. And then of course, more TDR Molotov to smooth out the vocals. And I have them sent into the reverb send. So let's listen to that all together.
It's time you realize you're not fooling anyone.
And it doesn't sound as echoey in the full mix because you don't hear all of that echoes, but you do hear it a little bit.
It's time you realize you're not fooling anyone. The magic of radio is gone.
So what do I have on this reverb send? Well, I have the drums, the guitar, and the vocals being fed in. That's these three plugins here. Then I have the baby comeback, and that's just doing a little bit of a delay effect. See, it's at 132 with a little bit of feedback, and it's full wet signal out. And then I have the Convology XT reverb on here using the 480 fat plate impulse response, and I have a little bit of pre-delay in there as well. And that kind of smooths out the delay effect, makes the delay not sound as robotic. So let's just go with this.
It's time you realize you're not fooling anyone. The magic of radio is gone.
So you see what I mean? Without it, the delay sounds a little robotic. With it, it gives it a nice sort of effect to make it sound like you're in a room or a space where you're singing and all of the instruments are. And then at the end again, TDR Nova to get rid of some of the muddiness that the reverb and the delay cause. And that's the reverb send. And then finally down here, I have my backing vocals. It's just 2 backing vocal tracks. Here's what they sound like. Radio, you kill. That's the backing vocals there, nothing fancy. And on the submix track, I have Nova taking out all of the low information. I don't want any of that muddying it up. I just sort of want it to be airy and in the background. I put the magic switch on there, which is that chorus to make it sound a little more full. And then the MJUC Junior, which is that LA2A kind of compressor, just to smooth it out. So let's hear it all together here.
Radio, oh, radio, you kill rock and roll. Radio, oh, radio, you kill rock and roll.
And you can hear it. It's just in the background there. That's all I wanted, just to make the chorus section sound a little bigger than the rest of the song. And I think it does that. All right, then the next part of the mix I'm going to go through is the master section at the bottom here. And I didn't put a master track. Sometimes I'll create a master track in here and feed everything into a master track on there so I can have more plugins. But because I'm doing this on my old laptop, I don't want to use that many plugins. I've used quite a bit in here and my laptop is maxed out. So I just went with the basic master track that's included with Traction Waveform. It allows me to have 4 plugins where I have TDR Nova, where I'm filtering out everything under 30 Hertz. And then here I'm increasing some of the mid information there. Then I'm slightly decreasing the 3 kilohertz. Again, that's some of the harshness in there. It's a very slight decrease. And then I increase the highs at the end there, and that's it for this plugin. After that, I have this one called Reviber, which is an exciter and sort of an enhancer plugin. It kind of, like it says here, thick. It kind of thickens things up a little bit. So here's the mix without it.
Radio, oh.
Now I'll enable it.
Radio, oh, radio, you kill rock and roll. Radio.
You can really hear a difference when I take it off while it's playing. You can hear that difference. And after that, I have this saturation plugin, the IVGI2 from Klanghelm. And this just, again, adds a little more thickness to it. So I'm going to play it and I'll turn it on and off so you can hear it.
Radio, oh, radio, you kill rock and roll. Radio, oh, radio.
So just a little difference there. And then at the end, I have the Ozone Imager, and this widens our track. So again, I'll play it and I'll turn it off so you can hear what it sounds like.
Radio, oh, radio, you kill rock and roll. Radio, oh, radio, you kill rock and roll.
So very flat when it's turned off, but then it gets that widened effect when it's on. And that's kind of what I wanted for this song. Now that's it for our mixing. So all I need to do is just export the track, render it down, and then we can get into our free mastering. So as you can see, I didn't include a limiter on the master. Normally you'd want to have a limiter on there, but I didn't put one on there because I'm going to let the free mastering do the limiting and all of that. All right, so for the free mastering, I'm going to use the BandLab mastering. Yes, that's the same BandLab that gives you Cakewalk by BandLab and the other free DAW, just called BandLab. So they have this. You go to bandlab.com/mastering and you can master however many songs you want for free in here. And as you can see, it's forever free. So all you have to do is you first need a BandLab account. You'll have to create one, but once you have it created and you're logged in, you would just click and drag your song into here. And you can see it starts playing it right away. So this is the mastered version called CD quality, and you can see there's a couple other versions. You have bass boost or enhanced clarity, and then you have your original track so you can compare. So let's just compare them all right now.
Radio, oh radio, you kill rock and roll. Radio, oh radio, you kill rock and roll. Gotta keep the playlist safe.
So I like the CD quality one. It kind of gives you a nice mid ground there. And once you decide which one you like, just click on it, then click Get Your Master. And you can see it's going to be saving for a little bit. All right, and here it is. You can see you have your master up there. Then you want to click Download. You want to make sure you click on Mastered, or else you'll just click and download the original. You have to click on Mastered, then choose the quality that you want. I want the full wave, then click Download. Now, if you want to check out even more free VST plugins, click up here, or click down here to see the rest of this series. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. For Audio Tech TV, I'm Zane. Keep creating, and we'll talk soon.